Welcome into a brand new episode of the Patriots Hub podcast. Alex Barth, Matt Dolloff with you, coming to you just as the Patriots get ready to wrap up their second week of training camp practices. So we're recording this on Friday, early Friday afternoon. The team does have the in-stadium practice tonight. We will have a little addendum podcast separate to this coming tonight after that practice. But for really the bulk of the week, like we did last week, just wanted to kind of check in on the big things we saw. And Dolloff, the big thing for you, you finally got to see it in pads. Will Campbell, Jared Wilson, the alignment, all of it in pads, full contact, 2 padded practices. Really, it felt like 3 because there was one practice where they only wore the upper half of the pads and just shorts, but that felt like a padded practice in terms of the amount of contact. So I would say a good amount of exposure for where we're at for the lines, both sides. What were your initial impressions?
No, I know we've seen them for a few times in pads, Barth, but honestly, I'm just waiting to see how they look in pads. We got to wait until they have pads so we can evaluate them, how they look when they have pads. And I know we've seen them in pads, but we still got to wait until they have pads on, and then we can have an opinion.
So nothing from you from this week.
No, I got nothing. Yesterday was the whole week, right? No pads, no helmets, no nothing. So there's nothing we can't talk about it.
Well,
we're not allowed.
There's a couple padded practices in there. Well, the reason that some were annoyed that we couldn't talk about it was because it meant we couldn't talk about Will Campbell performing poorly, but he did have a rough day. So of the padded practices, the first day, just in terms of 11-on-11s, he's kind of been up and down in the one-on-ones. I don't worry as much about the one-on-ones, just like the non-pad, like it's not real football, right? And it is a little more for the tackle because you're going to be on an island, but I think we got enough of a sample size off of the 11-on-11s. We can just focus on that. I think the first day he looked good. Now, the first day was mostly a run day. The passing they did was play action. It was not traditional drop back sets where he's having to like set the pocket, right? But he was good in that. Caved in Milton Williams a few times in the run game, stood up Keon White in the pass game. Comes back the next day. They're in more of those true pass sets. Had a really rough period. Kayvon Chason beat him twice for sacks and a 4-play span. Another pressure in there as well. Finished the day okay. And then I thought he was fine on Wednesday, would have been that last day, Thursday being a walkthrough. So I don't know. With Will Campbell, it obviously hasn't been perfect. And you see the areas he needs to improve. I don't think there's any new areas where he needs to improve. To me, it's everything we knew in the draft. That outside in move kind of got him a few times in college. That's what Kayvon Chason got him with, the traditional pass sets. But he looks dominant in the run game. I would say as advertised so far for Will Campbell.
Yeah, as advertised is fair. I think after that bad day, the discourse just got kind of out of control, at least on social media. Maybe I should have just gotten off social media instead of even saying anything about it. But it's like the portrayal
you were right for what it's worth, what you said.
The portrayal got to be like that Campbell's having this disaster of a camp and like, oh my God, the kid's not ready. He can't play. That's not even close to what's going on with Will Campbell. He's obviously been beat a few times, had a bit of a rough day in that one practice. But even in that one practice, I thought he closed fine. He gave up a few pressures to Kayvon Chason in the first 11-on-11 period that day. The second one, I thought he had a clean sheet. I've been watching this kid, first of all, down there sweating my balls off, looking at this kid through binoculars, watching his every move like a freaking peeping Tom. And like I got random people online who have not done this job, would have not been down to camp, telling me how to do my job and telling me I don't know what I'm looking at. Okay, whatever you say. But I think going into that day, I thought Will Campbell was having a solid camp overall. I'd probably put him in the B plus range. Maybe that bad day knocked him down to a B minus. That's something like that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But like, I know he's the 4th overall pick. I know you want him to be a really, really good player. I still think he can be really good. You can't expect perfection from a rookie on July 30th. I think that is just incredibly unreasonable and you can't have a conversation with these people if like, first of all, if you've already decided he's a bust because his arms are a little short, or if you decided he's a guard, like you're not even going to listen to what anyone's saying who's actually there watching him practice, then we can't even have a conversation. All right, fine, he's a bust. Let's move on. But yeah, like look, he's given up some pressure on the outside to inside move. Like that's but like you said, that was a thing that he had to work on coming out of college. That's what the tape said. Like Shamar Stewart, was it Texas A&M? He gave him trouble with moves like that in his college tape. And so like, that's something that he still needs to work on apparently. But you look at the big picture. I mean, Keon White was giving him trouble with honestly just the pure power or even just the speed around the edge early in camp, feels like he's sort of done his homework and he's been better against Keion White. Wouldn't you agree? That like Keion White's been giving him less trouble as it's gone along. And now he needs to hit the tape on Caleb Chase on. He needs to work on those outside inside moves. It's really that inside shoulder Barth. And we saw in the one-on-ones, which I know, like you said, isn't real football. Braden Swinson doesn't necessarily get through if there's a center or a guard also there to block him, but blew right by him. And so, yeah, it's those outside to inside moves, spin moves, things like that. Moving laterally, things that he's got to work on that stuff. But we can't go overboard with this. We can't say he can't play tackle. He's had a disaster camp. It just hasn't been the case. And look, it's more newsworthy when he gives up a pressure than when he blocks him for the fifth. Oh, yep, blocked him again. Like, do we expect a tweet on every snap? Like, yep, he blocked that one. Like, it's been mostly solid for Will Campbell. And if that's not good enough for you, that's fine. But this is a rookie in his first camp, his first couple weeks of training camp. First few practices of full pads. And I know people made a big deal out of Keion White. I said he bulldozed him. Like, I wasn't hiding from that. Like, he got blown up on that rep. But again, to put that in context, Barth, first day of pads, first rep of one-on-one, Keion White was probably waiting 7 months to get that rep out in practice. Yeah. And that was welcome to the NFL, kid. That's what that moment was. And I think that was almost maybe even a wake-up call for Will Campbell, where it's like, all right, I really need to start doing my homework on this guy, and I need to be better against him. And he has been better against him. That's why you have to look at the whole picture. You can't overreact to one bad practice. And I think Will Campbell had a bad practice the other day, and he didn't really have a chance to bounce back yesterday because it was a total walkthrough day, no pads, no helmets. So tonight is his chance to bounce back. And look, we're going to be watching him probably every snap, see how he does in those team drills. It's going to be interesting to see who he goes up against, how he performs. Does he keep giving up pressure? Does he keep getting beat by those inside moves? These are the things that you really got to keep, we watch him on a day-to-day basis. And so we go by a day-to-day basis, and there's going to be ups and downs. You have to accept that there's going to be ups and downs with a rookie. A rookie is not going to come in here and be perfect from day one, especially when he's playing every single snap, which Will Campbell and Michael Wenu are the only guys to play every snap on the offensive line for the starting offensive line for the Patriots.
Actually, no, it's just Campbell. No, it's just Campbell.
Oh, Wenu's been out too?
There was one day that they worked Jared Wilson at right guard for like a handful of snaps.
See, there you go. This is why we keep you around.
Oh, Wenu's at 90-something%. Like your point stands.
Basically every snap, but Campbell is literally 100% of the snaps.
Yeah,
the only guy. He's the only guy that's played literally every snap with the starters. And I look at a guy and I don't see a guy that's not ready to play tackle. I see a guy that has things to work on, same stuff that he's been working on coming out of college. And look, you might have growing pains. He might have some rough moments, rough games, rough matchups, but he's the left tackle. And I heard you on Felger and Maz. I agree with you and Felger that like the concerns are behind him. I don't want to see Marcus Bryant anytime soon. That's a guy that's not ready to play left tackle in the NFL. But Aaron Lowe has been injured. And so this is where I go back to the thing that I said a million times on this very podcast, Bart, that they need to sign a veteran, a Morgan Moses for the left side.
Yeah.
And that's where I point to a guy like DJ Humphries, who looks like he's by the way, he's going to be playing for the Rams because their guy, Alaric Jackson, has blood clots. So good thing they signed DJ Humphries. That's probably what the Patriots should have done. To me, the problem isn't Will Campbell. It's the lack of an insurance policy behind him. And look, there are holes to poke in his game so far. There are definitely things that he needs to be better at. But I think the discourse got out of control. So that's my rant on Will Campbell.
Damn you, Dolloff. What a nuanced, well thought out, well laid out take.
I know I'm screaming. That's whatever.
It was good. It was good. And I can tell that was therapeutic. So I got to do that with Brian Hines on Patriots Beat the other night. So it does feel got mine out, but it helps, right?
It does feel good to talk things out.
It does. This could always be a therapy session. I agree with a lot of what you said. I agree with the vast majority of what you said. Like, it was not a good practice that one day. There's going to be ups and downs. The one thing I would add is, and you touched on it a little bit, like, Will Campbell's not your typical 4th overall pick because this is not your typical draft.
Yeah.
And he's not. And the way left tackle works, like, there's not a lot of good left tackles in the league. They just need him to be a starting caliber player. That's hitting on that pick, all things considered, is he's a set it and forget it left tackle. And he doesn't have to be Joe Thomas, but he just has to be solid. And for the most part, we've seen solid, not exclusively. I think the joint practices next week are going to be big for him to kind of see him up against other rushers. And we were talking about this yesterday at practice. Oddly enough, the guy he's probably going to go up against quite a bit is Dietrich Wise, who, if you've ever seen Dietrich Wise in person, has a ton of length. He's one of the most imposing humans I've ever seen. Like he's
physically impressive.
Yes. So
we've seen him in the locker room, Barth.
Well, let's not go full Tommy Heinz in there, but really long arms. Quick feet.
I didn't mean it that way,
that.
by the way.
I know. I know. It just made me think of it. I didn't either. But
we've seen him shirtless. That's all I'm saying. He's jacked.
Well, I just meant like his arm length and his hand size.
Are huge.
So the kind of things you wonder going up against Will Campbell. So I think that's going to be telling. Again, it's probably not going to be perfect this year. You just need him to be more good than bad, which I think he's been, which I think has more or less been the case across the offensive line. Honestly, my biggest worry might be Morgan Moses over Campbell, because Campbell's on the upswing, ideally, right? They're going to coach him up, and Doug Marrone's going to coach him up. He's going to get better. Morgan Moses is 34. He's already limited. It's a bit of, I don't want to say it's a red flag, but it does concern you, because the big point, let's not lose track of this. One other thing we've learned about we've learned three things about the offensive line. Will Campbell is going to be a competitor. It might not be perfect, but he's going to be a competitor. He doesn't look overwhelmed early outside of 4 snaps. He does not look overwhelmed.
That's the one thing I just wanted to make clear, is that he does not look like, oh my God, he doesn't belong. He can't play the position. It's just, he's gotten beat a few times and has a few things to work on. That's way different from he's not ready or anything like that.
So Will Campbell doesn't look out of place as 1. Jared Wilson looks very much in place. That's 2. And he's probably the starting left guard right now.
I want to grade him on a curve going forward, Barth, because I feel like he's been standing out mainly just from how he's being used.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so now you're in there, kid. Now I need to see you, execute some blocks, right?
Well, and I think the reason it was a story was because he went from being the backup to center to guard and then starting guard. Yeah. So there was news because it was, and now he's not going to start at 2 positions, right? They can't make him the double starter. So
right.
At this point now, it's just prove it, right? Make the coaches look smart. So number 1, Will Campbell belongs. Number 2, Jared Wilson totally belongs. Number 3, none of their backups belong. Like, I think the offensive line is better than it was last year. It looks like it's going to be better than it was last year on paper. Some of that is just because of how bad they were last year. I'll admit that there's some semantics in this. Better than last year doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be great or even good. But I think on paper, they have a better line than last year, assuming their 5 is everybody healthy: Will Campbell, Jared Wilson, Garrett Bradbury, Mike Onwenu, Morgan Moses. The caveat is, as soon as you start to lose even 1 or 2 guys from that group, it falls apart quickly. I like Ben Brown. I don't want to dump on Ben Brown because I think he's a solid backup center. That's what he is, a backup. He's probably their best backup offensive lineman. DeMontre Jacobs at right tackle was so last year and has had a rough camp.
Yes.
Caden Wallace, their backup right guard, has been primarily a tackle. He's kind of an unknown. Cole Strange, we'll see. It's always we'll see with Cole Strange. I couldn't even tell you who their backup left tackle is. You mentioned Bryant. Why am I blanking on his first name?
Marcus Bryant.
Thank you. Marcus Bryant, total unknown. Vidar Lowe hurt. And that's it. They don't even have any other left tackles. So, guys get hurt. It starts to fall apart real fast up front. And I don't know how much they can do about it now. It might be another situation where they're adding 1 or 2 offensive linemen off waivers after cutdown day, like they did last year. Now, this year, those guys won't be starting over 10 games, which is progress. But that is, I think, another note just to keep in mind, that because I feel like we did this with the defense last year. We talked about how good the defense looked because it looked good. And then they lost Christian Barmore and they lost Jabril Peppers. Kyle Duggar was playing hurt, and people you said the defense was going to be good. It sucks. And it's like, well, yeah, because this isn't remotely the defense we saw in camp. It was really just Gonzalez. That's it. So I think this year, I could see this. I'm not rooting for injuries or anything, but it's the NFL. They happen. The offensive line looks good right now, but it's only going to look good if it's these 5 guys. After that, you start putting backups in, who knows?
No, exactly. Yeah, no. DeMontre Jacobs, I don't want to see it right tackle. He's had a terrible camp. Morgan Moses, you hope he can stay healthy and get in there and play every snap. But we haven't seen that at all in camp. And so like, that's why, yeah, right tackle has been a bigger concern of mine than left tackle. I mean, like I've been sounding the alarms on the offensive line even before they put the pads on. And I know we're still waiting for them to put the full pads on, but that's been a concern of mine going into camp. And Will Campbell was the least of my concerns. And I think you just went over pretty much all the reasons why I've been more concerned about all the other spots. And, at right guard, I'm not worried about Owenu, but yeah, like he goes down. What the hell do they do there? Jared Wilson's been a find. He looks like he's going to be the left guard if things keep progressing the way they are. He goes down. Like, are they going back to Cole Strange, who has gone backwards in these camps? And Layden Robinson, who had a promising camp last year, feels like he can't rise above the third strings. So those are all concerns. The one area where I'd push back a little bit is center, because I think Garrett Bradbury's had a bad camp, and not that Ben Brown is this great, the big answer at center. I feel like there's not much of a drop off there. I feel like he looked okay the last couple days as the starting, the fill-in starting center. It feels like they've replaced Bradbury with him as the placeholder for whenever Jared Wilson is ready to play center. And again, to your point, if they switch Jared Wilson to center, who's going to be the left guard? Like, definitely questions after all the starters. I think center is a little closer. I don't know if there's going to be a huge drop off if Garrett Bradbury has bad injury and they got to go with Ben Brown. Not an ideal situation though, and that's why I feel like I get why people are so fixated on Will Campbell, and especially the plays that he's given up. But we really got to look at the rest of the line, Barth. I will take Will Campbell playing at a B level and just occasionally making, rookie type mistakes over what we've seen at right tackle with DeMontre Jacobs and the bad snaps and the left guard situation. Like, I think those are all bigger concerns. And I get left tackle is the most important position, but I feel like that's kind of the most solid position right now. And that's maybe grading on a curve. I know maybe that's a statement on the rest of the guys that Will Campbell's the most solid guy that they have on the line right now. And, you can put him and Owenu in that same category, I guess. But those other spots are definitely cause for concern.
I would say Mike Onwenu gets overlooked a little bit just because he's the one guy that's back, and it's, he's a guard. He's not a tackle and all that. He's had a solid camp, I think.
Yeah.
He's a little limited in the spring, but he's come in. He's been fine. I'll give him the edge over Campbell just because he's proven he can do it in this league.
Sure.
But
I'm not worried about Owenu.
Right. In terms of variance, Will Campbell actually might be on the lower end of that thing. When you compare it to a 34-year-old tackle, and obviously we'll see what happens at center and guard. We said we wanted to keep this to 30 minutes. We're at 18 minutes already. We've only done the offensive line.
Well, yeah, I had to get that off my chest. I don't.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm never gonna follow you for good content.
I don't have any other rants left in me, so we can keep it quick with the other.
All right, so we'll make this quick. Drake, I'll go first this time, maybe. So I'll get the points out. You can just agree or disagree. Sure. Drake May has had a great start to this camp. Drake May has been very encouraging on a few fronts. First off, and you wrote about this yesterday on 98.5thesportshub.com. I think, did you post this yesterday, right? No turnovers? Yep. So no turnover. He did have one the first day. It was like the second throw that Jabril Peppers dropped. But since then, he really hasn't even come close to turning the ball over. And it's not like outside of that one day, it's not like he's not throwing the ball down the field. Like, he's testing windows. He's testing the deeper part of the field. He's throwing the ball over the middle, and he's getting it in there. So that's been encouraging. I think he said something early in camp about how he wants to scramble more to throw and remain a passer when he's scrambling instead of just looking to run. And I heard that, and I was like, it's a great thought. Is it just something he's saying? Is it something he's going to do? So far, we've seen him do that. I thought, especially that practice on Wednesday, when Campbell struggled, and honestly, the offensive line kind of struggled as a whole. That was one of his best days because he was dealing with the pressure well, and he wasn't just scrambling. There were opportunities he had to scramble where I wouldn't have called it a bad decision, but I think he made better decisions by resetting his feet and looking downfield and continuing to pass. So that part's been encouraging. And then just his command of the offense. He looks a lot more comfortable than he did when we first saw him in the spring. I think he's learned the offense. I think he understands the offense. And there was that was a real worry. I mean, we talked about it. A lot of people talked about it. How's he going to work in McDaniel's system? And is it going to overwhelm him? Is it going to be too much for him? So far, he seems fine. I could count on one hand the number of times they've had like operational issues through 8 days. There was one false start And one of them was Javon Baker lining up incorrect. I think that was actually Dobbs. That wasn't May at quarterback. So I wouldn't even count that. Few and far between where there's been operational issues. And again, it's something, there's not going to be zero because it's training camp. You want the number to be zero once the season starts, obviously. But I've been very impressed. I don't want to like gush too much because we'll see ultimately what happens when the games start being played. But the one knock is the bad snaps, because there have been a couple between Wilson and Bradbury, and I think they've gotten pointed at. All three were with Drake May. And this was something we talked about last year. Wasn't under center a lot in college. That was something he was going to have to get better at. But outside of that, yeah, I've been impressed.
Yeah, I think first, just quickly on the bad snap, I think it's fair to note that those were all with Drake May because those were with multiple players, and so maybe you got to look at Drake May a little bit on the exchange there. I'll start with the offense, just the system, McDaniels. I feel like the whole thing about it being like too complicated, complex, like, oh my God, are they going to be able to pick it up, is a little overblown. I feel like the challenge is more with just how precise it is and how like you have to have good timing, and you kind of got to run really crisp routes. Like you can't really play schoolyard like they did on that one play with Drake May and Pop Douglas. I feel like it's the precision of it that I think makes it a challenge, as opposed to the playbook and that. I don't think they're running the exact playbook that you'd say Tom Brady was running in the 2014, 2015, whatever. But like I think there's evidence of that just based on how everybody's sort of picking it up and everybody feels like they're on the same page. Like assuming they exchange the ball gets into Drake May's hands. He's been dropping back and making quick decisions, throwing accurately. And the turnover thing is huge. That's the biggest thing to me. And I mean, like he had a turnover worthy play on the first day of practice. But like to your point, like he really hasn't even had any turnover worthy plays, let alone not turning the ball over. There was the other practice, I believe it was last Saturday, where he sprayed the ball a bit. They were working on deep balls. And so I don't expect every deep ball to be perfectly accurate. Those are low percentage throws, but you got to give your guy, more of a chance to catch the ball than he did on some of those plays. But again, those were kind of overthrows. The ball wasn't really in danger. He hasn't really put the ball in danger a lot, which I think has been impressive. I think that was the key with May. Like we know the physical talent's there. He has the arm and the legs and all that. Can you harness it? Can you harness his physical talents? And it feels like we're only 8 practices in. It's just August 1st here. We got joint practices and the preseason coming up, so a long way to go. Just like with the line, it's going to be interesting to see how he looks against an opposing defense that's not his own team. But so far, the decision-making, the precision, the quick decision-making, especially, and the precision of his passing and the ball security, I think has been the most impressive things about him. And so I think if he can keep that up, like the offense could be really good. Like the receivers look good. This is the best group of receivers they've had in a long time, thanks to Stephon Diggs being here. And Drake May looks like he's improved a lot based on these first 8 practices.
Where are you at with the receivers? I'm still impressed with Diggs. I'm still impressed with Pop. Keyshawn Bootie's getting a ton of run. Mac Hollins looked pretty involved yesterday when he was back. So I think, and then Kyle Williams, like those 5 to me, that's 5, right? Are the group.
Diggs, Booty, Pop, Booty, Williams, Pop. Bourne, and Hollins. That's 6.
I didn't include Bourne. So that's the thing. I think it's those 5. And then I know I've been a big supporter of Kendrick Bourne. He does look more like a bubble player now, especially if that's going to be Mac Hollins' usage, what we saw the other day at the walkthrough. So, Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, Efton Chisholm basically competing for one spot, I think is where we're at. I still like Bourne from that group, but that's if they keep 6. And that would depend. Now you're getting into at-large roster spots and what happens with the rest of the roster. That's something I usually dive into a little deeper once we've seen a couple preseason games and things clear up a little bit. But look, I think they're kind of like the line. Their wide receiver group is better. I don't know that it's great. Diggs being apparently healthy changes a lot. I still would like to see them go get Terry McLaurin. I look at the DK Metcalf trade, the Diggs trade last year from Buffalo to Houston, the reported offer the Patriots had for Brandon Ayuk that was reportedly accepted and didn't get done because Ayuk wouldn't sign a contract. You put all those together, you factor in the age and things like that. A second, a fourth, and a receiver. Ideally, Keyshawn Booty or Kendrick Bourne. If they ask for Pop, I don't know. Like I'd probably ultimately do it. I wouldn't love it. I'd still like to see them make a move like that, though. But I think it's a group that's going to allow Drake May to operate. I don't think it's going to be something where we're saying, hey, May's being held back because he doesn't have enough receiver talent. We might say it about the line, but if Diggs stays healthy and actually looks like this, and everybody else slots in behind him the way we think they're going to, I don't think it's a prohibitive wide receiver group. I don't know how much they're going to elevate him at all. Probably not. Maybe Diggs a little bit. But I don't think they're going to hold Drake May back either.
So quickly, like, to be clear, I would love it if the Patriots got Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
But based on what we've seen from the receivers that they have, I'm not exactly pounding the table for it like I would.
Okay.
Maybe if Diggs wasn't here. It's like I feel
like
if
Diggs was here, it's a completely different,
Like I feel like they have enough where like Drake can make it work, and it's a question of whether they can block it. Just to tie it all together, it feels like they are sort of working around the offensive line by, working on the quick game and the first down passes, a lot of quick passes. And at the same time, a guy like Stephon Diggs and Pop Douglas, like those guys can get open early in their routes. And I think that's another big thing where Drake May doesn't have to wait an extra second and pump fake and double pump and things like that because the guys aren't getting open. Like, guys are getting open. Like, Stephon Diggs is getting open over the middle. Pop Douglas is having a great camp. Booty has been like, I feel like he's still getting the run with the starters. So I don't worry about his roster spot at this point based on just how they're using him. I would like to see him maybe make more plays a little more consistently. Williams is the one guy that's been sort of hit or miss. Like, he's not going anywhere. He's a rookie 3rd round pick. He's in. I'm just curious how big of a role he's really going to play. And it feels like he has been rising up. And so, like, I asked him about it yesterday. He says, like, I feel like I'm getting better, but I'm not going to get complacent, basically, is what he said. Like, he's still working to improve some things. And like, he's had a couple drops. He's missed a couple blocks. He needs to work on the back shoulder throws. There have been a couple back shoulders where the ball looked like it was in the exact perfect spot, but Kyle Williams just got boxed out of it. So
timing and chemistry.
Those are timing, precision, chemistry. It all goes back to the system and all that. But overall, the receivers look really good, and I feel like they're sort of working around it with the quick game stuff. Working around the offensive line is what I meant with the quick game stuff, and so they look good. Guys are at least getting open. They're getting open early, and maybe that could be, if they have pressure issues up front, they can sort of work around it. So I feel like that's where having an improved receiver group can help.
I just go back again. The word, like, it's a representative group. I have a friend who texts me. He's texted me every year for the last like 5 or 6 years, basically since N'Keal Harry was a bust. He texts me every year around this time and says, "So do the Patriots have the worst wide receiver room in the league?" And at times I kind of have to look at him and be like, yeah, there's an argument. I sent him the Commanders room without Terry McLaurin yesterday. It's not remotely close. That the Patriots are significantly better. Not that should be the bar, but I feel like the group is representative. Doesn't mean they're great. But I think they got NFL caliber players across the board. I don't think you're going to see guys out there that don't look like they don't belong. They may not be elite playmakers. They may just be guys that kind of take what's given and nothing more, but that's it. On the topic of the Terry McLaurin trade, so we because I want to get one defensive take in here before we wrap it up. I'm sorry, Dolph, we're going to go a little over 30. But before I get your defensive take, little breaking news here on what for many is a pre-recorded podcast. Micah Parsons has just posted on social media he wants to be traded. I think that turn should be grotesque. Like, I would, if I'm Cowboy, first of all, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm kicking myself that this even happened. But the fact that it did, I would rather him not play than trade a guy who might be the best non-quarterback in the league for anything less than a gross overpay. I'm asking for multiple firsts if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, or you want to get creative. The Bengals have some money put aside for a pass rusher, but they don't want to give it to Trey Hendrickson because he's too old. The Cowboys need a pass rusher, but it can't be Micah Parsons because they pissed him off beyond belief. Trey Hendrickson, a first and more picks for Micah Parsons. Like, I might consider that. Would you want the Patriots to be on Micah Parsons if it's going to be, say, multiple first-round picks?
I would say no on if it's going to be multiple first-round picks. I think that should be the price for a guy like Micah Parsons because he's the kind of guy where, like, he's going to go to a team that's ready to go win a Super Bowl right now. I don't think the Patriots are ready to do that. If you're a team that wants to go win a Super Bowl right now, then trade away two first-round picks that are going to be in the 20s anyway. Like, I just don't think the Patriots are there yet.
Yeah.
I don't want to thumb my nose up at a great player, but I think at the same time, you just got to be realistic and have some discipline at some point where it's like you can't say the Patriots should get every single good player that becomes available. Like if you ask me, all the guys that are like demanding trades or need contracts that they're like, that they could go out and get in a trade, I would put McLaurin at the top of that list.
Yes.
Personally for the Patriots. I kind of wish there was a tackle or some kind of O-lineman that was in a similar situation.
There aren't. They never become available because those guys get paid because they're too valuable. I'll say this on Parsons, like to your point about the Patriots not being ready, people say, well, he might be the best player in the league. Like he'll elevate them. How much has he elevated the Dallas Cowboys, who objectively have a better roster than the Patriots? Like they have not had postseason success. So look, a first in Keon White, that kind of thing, because I would assume they're going to want a pass rusher back.
If it's just one first round pick of Keon White, I
would do that.
Think about that.
But I think if you're giving up multiple firsts when the team still has more needs, and I think you're going to have to give up multiple first because of what you just said. Like some people might hear that, all right, first and a second, because the second's probably going to be a higher second. If you're the Bengals, and there's not a lot of teams that can do this because you need the financial flexibility, but there's a couple contenders that have cap space. And to quote Jimmy Stewart, the cap can always be manipulated. If you really want to get it done, you can get it done, right? If
Chiefs,
the Chiefs, right? Who knows, right? If you're a contender,
the Chiefs
you'll offer 2 firsts. If you're a contender, you will offer 2 first round picks.
Sure.
So just because the Patriots aren't contenders, they can't come at it and say, well, our second is like a first. Okay, but it's not because this other contender's pick is, right? Or they don't have a player again. And the Commanders have needs on the edge too, right?
Yeah. Well, I know this isn't sorry to cut you off, Bart, but I know this isn't a perfect comparison because it was a free agent signing, but this has to almost be like when Darrelle Revis went to the Patriots. Like the Patriots, they just needed a cornerback. They really want to make a push to get that 4th Super Bowl.
He was the last.
So let's make an aggressive move like that. That's what Micah Parsons should be for whatever team gets him. Yeah.
So do the Commanders offer Terry McLaurin or something like that? I don't know. The Cowboys need another receiver. Do the Bengals offer Trey Hendrickson? If I'm the Bengals, I am absolutely making that call. 100%.
Oh, what about the Bills? What about the Bills?
Yeah, I don't want to think about that, but that could happen. I don't know what their financial situation's weird though. In terms of the cap can be manipulated, hard cash cannot.
Yeah, well, like AJ Epinesa and a first,
So I don't know what their hard cash on hand situation is because of the new stadium.
Yeah,
and that cannot be manipulated like the cap.
No.
But I mean, who knows? So, and yeah, the Patriots are definitely not getting both. We can dream, but they're not getting both. Micah Parsons, Scary Terry. It is a nice thought. Dare to dream, as the commenter says, but I think McLaurin is much more realistic, and pound for pound, what it would cost, I think I would rather McLaurin. But overall, all right. So they're not getting Micah Parsons without him. What have you thought of the defense? The Madden ratings came out today. I like looking at the Madden ratings, 1, because I'm a dork, but 2, I think just like the NFL Top 100 list, just like that poll ESPN does of all the coaches and the executives, you get so caught in the bubble of your own team this time of year. It's a good way to kind of see how the team's viewed nationally, and the Madden ratings aren't always perfect. Christian Barmore being an 80 overall, get the hell out of here with that. But EA Sports says the Patriots is the 10th best defense in the NFL. Now, that's obviously assuming health, which is kind of a big if for this unit. But does that feel realistic? I think if everybody's healthy, it is. And again, there's that word if again. But I think if everybody's healthy, it might be realistic just based on what we've seen. The secondary looks great when guys are healthy. And Gonzalez and Davis obviously hasn't been. But right now, there's no reason to think they wouldn't be ready for week 1. And the pass rush looks good. The run defense is the only thing that worries me. But the pass rush looks good.
So yeah, I don't know anything about Madden, to be honest, Barthy. I'm not the right person to talk to.
Well, I just used it as a jumping off point. I use it as a jumping off point.
But when you say like they're this overall, like I have no idea what that means.
I use it as a jumping off point to say because they watch the film. That's what they do. They watch the film and then they turn it into the ratings. Based on watching the film and everything, they see the Patriots as a top 10 defense in football. And I just use that as a jumping off point of, could they be a top 10 defense in football based on what you've seen through 2 weeks?
Sure. Yeah, no, if everybody's healthy, right? They had Christian Gonzalez is out right now. Carlton Davis has been slow to get back in the lineup. I could see that. I think I have a little bit of a renewed concern about the front. I thought, after minicamp, I thought they would have a real good chance of getting after the quarterback. Yeah, they put the pads on, and they can't stop the run. Like they've had trouble stopping the run up the middle. Milton Williams getting turned aside. Christian Barmore, I think, has had an underwhelming camp so far, and he hasn't even been a full participant in these team drills. So I wonder if they're just taking it slow with him. Like, I don't know, but he's 20 pounds lighter, so I don't know if like he's necessarily going to be the same player coming off blood clots. I think that's something to watch. I'm not sure that he's necessarily going to be the same guy that he was, say, 2 years ago when he was emerging as this force on the interior. So on paper, they look great. But yeah, they got to stay healthy, and I got to see how these defensive linemen hold up against the run, and to see if they can get enough push in the pass rush. I feel like they will be good against the pass rush, but will they be great? Like, I don't know. I like they could be top 10, but I feel like they're sort of hovering around that 10 spot. Like, so, I don't think again, I think anyone thinks like they're going to be elite. Like, look, it wouldn't shock me because they invested so much, and Mike Vrabel's a good defensive coach. But I feel like I want to temper expectations and put them more around like the 10 to 12 ranges where, I'm topping them out at right now.
So let me see if I can find it here again. You don't really have to understand exactly how Madden works. Just the idea, like it's on a scale out of 100, right? Is how they rate these. So
God, I feel so dumb. So you see, it's out of 100.
Good. So, well, it's really out of 99. There are no hundreds, but
yeah.
So they have the Patriots ranked, and the team overall is basically just a calculation of all the individual players overalls, right? So they have the Patriots as a top 10 defense, but they have them at 10, at 83 overall. They have them at 10. But they also seem to be saying that the defenses aren't as good. They only have one defense that's over 90 overall. That's the Steelers. They have 5 offenses that are over a 90. The 10th offense is an 85, so is better than the Patriots. So some of it might just be there's
you have the
offense-driven league, but
yeah, you have the list there. Like, what are the defenses that are ahead of the Patriots?
So they only gave the top 10, so I can't tell you who's after. But
yeah, just who's ahead of them.
Steelers are number 1, Chiefs are number 2, Cowboys are number 3. That might change. Ravens are number 4, Texans are number 5. The Bills and Broncos are tied for 6. The Vikings and Lions are tied for 8th. They're both 84s, and then the Patriots at 83.
So, like, honestly, it's just the Steelers, really, that I feel like are clearly better. Are the Chiefs that good on defense? I know they have Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie.
Yeah, no, they're and their scheme's just unreal.
George Karlaftis. Yeah, so the
Ravens. Yeah, the Ravens
I'll give you.
Yeah, the Ravens
I'll give you.
Yeah, like you said it, offense-driven league. I think there's some more variance there than when you talk about
I think they can definitely be in the mix with the Bills and the Broncos and those teams. I think
if everybody stays healthy, which we've both admitted is a big if, but we'll be watching for. All right, we're going to stop it there, but we will have more for you tonight. If you're watching this live, we'll have another quick recap of practice after practice. So to make sure you get that, subscribe to the Patriots Hub podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or for the video version, 98.5 The Sports Hub YouTube channel will be found there, and we'll have coverage from the practice on 98.5thesportshub.com. So until then, for Matt Dolloff, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.